So check this out. The Stuxnet worm was this digital weapon created unlike anything seen before. Its original purpose was shrouded in secrecy to be specifically designed to target and disrupt a specific industrial process with unprecedented precision. How it was created and who was behind it is still technically a mystery, but its impact is profound and has forever changed the way we think about cyber warfare. So on today's episode of Book Club, where we do these deep dives on critical points and interesting facts on hacking and cybersecurity books, you're gonna see how Stuxnet changed the battlefield. Countdown to Zero Day by Kim Zetter takes the reader down this gripping tale of the shadowy world of hacking, groups and these nation-state cyber operation groups. Essentially, you see the book telling the story of Stuxnet, this highly sophisticated computer worm, and how it was used to attack the Iranian nuclear program in Natanz, causing physical damage to the country's nuclear facilities and setting them back in their nuclear ambitions. As the hunt for these perpetrators goes on, you basically see the book exploring various theories about who was behind the worm and why it was created. Along its way, it delves into these technical details about the worm and the ways in which we'd be able to evade detection for so long. But Countdown to Zero Day is not just a story about a single attack, it's a cautionary tale of the dangers of cyber warfare and its potential for similar attacks in the future. With the rise of all these Internet of Things, SCADA systems, OT, what have you, you basically see the attack vector growing larger and larger as time goes. So 3 things that I would like to kind of talk about in this would be essentially the risk of the nation-state cyber operations, their development and deployment of these things, the power of these cyber weapons, and then the increasing importance of cybersecurity in the field as we know it. So the risk proposed by these nation-states developing and deploying these new cyber weapons is pretty crazy, right? So there's a level of collateral damage, yes, but there's also physical damage to be had. Natanz, they had their nuclear enrichment plant destroyed, basically set back, to where it was no longer doing what it was supposed to be doing. But think recently, or a little bit more recently, the Colonial Pipeline hack, right? That was something that was legitimately, knocked offline to where it had a lasting effect on the U.S. economy and its gasoline, right? And so it's basically a cyber, arms race on who can do what. There is no regulation. This happened in what? They said it was undiscovered in 2010, and then the whole Colonial Pipeline thing, it's a very murky territory. We don't really know how to, is this espionage, is this, acts of war? We don't know yet, right? The second thing we're kind of talking about are these, the power of these cyber weapons. And the the implication on these things is crazy. Because again, once it's put out there, that digital weapon can almost be reverse engineered. It was specific in this book, it was specific to this use case, but the frameworks, right? The malware dropper that was used was very specific, and then the payload itself was kind of specific. But what are these but just specific fields? I imagine by modifying these things, it would be crazy to think that this could happen. And this was even the first technical instance of nuclear sabotage or whatever. I think it was the slammer worm in Ohio. It was 2003 or so. It's crazy stuff. But you basically see this it's inevitable. It's gonna keep happening. And with cyber weapons, they can be updated. They can be quickly adjusted to different attack vectors, use cases, what have you. And again, imagine if the financial institution, a large financial institution, someone found a vulnerability in there, a nation state could take advantage and take millions of dollars. Or if there was a medical conglomerate, some business, right? So the medical facility, they have very sensitive information, and that could be tapped, right? Someone could go through there and just, take that information. They can, adjust it, modify it to where someone's taking the wrong medicine, and that could be a huge, epidemic in itself. That whole thing could be compromised, right? And then the last point I want to talk about was the importance of cybersecurity, right? This whole thing was discovered 5 years after the fact. It was was put into play, I think it was like 2005, and then 2010 it was undiscovered, or it was discovered. But it was basically someone saw that there was this really weird like malware, because it basically infected like everyone's computer. This crazy Stuxnet worm. So they were like, hey, this is really weird. This is odd. It was digitally signed by like a Taiwan company. It had used so many of these different like 0 days. It was bundled together. It was like, holy cow, this thing's crazy. What is it doing? And they kind of worked it backwards till they found the specific use case of the Natanz enrichment facility. But it's like this was because some cybersecurity professional went through and discovered it, right? And so you basically see that. You see like the whole economic and social, infrastructures, the impacts that could be had, if social medias are compromised, there's a wealth of data on there per person, right? All these different things like that. It's wild to think that we're in this era where now we need to invest into the cyber infrastructure because cybersecurity is going to be such an important play in the next, 5 to 10 years, who knows? So one thing that I thought was really cool about this book is the author, Kim Zetter, had almost exclusive access to a bunch of these key players involved with the discovery and investigation of the Stuxnet worm, including the researchers who discovered the worm, the experts who reverse engineered it. You kind of saw like there was this really detailed and accurate account of the events surrounding the worm and its effects on the Iranian nuclear program in Natanz. Additionally, this book does kind of show some sort of like behind the scenes with the individuals that were involved in like the development and the deployment of this cyber weapon, right? And so it's an inside perspective on the decision making and the operations that go into something like this. The level of access and detail is what sets this book apart from other accounts of the Stuxnet story. And it kind of provides the readers this like unique experience. Like I'm sure they have movies similar, and kind of go in depth on the Stuxnet, story, but like they could take this book and make it into one itself. So if you enjoyed learning about nation states and their cyber operation groups, you may also be interested in this video right here, learning about a sophisticated group known as Sandworm. Thank you very much and have a good one.